to our interview today. We are really excited to bring you this interview as we are talking to yet another fantastic artist from our industry. We'll just introduce ourselves to you though. My name is Ray Piper and I'm the co-artistic director of Chantry Dance, and
I'm Paul Chantry and I'm also co-artist director of Chantry Dance.
Oh snap, you copied me. Yeah, but as I was saying, today we are talking to, wait for it, Deborah Bull, and we are so thrilled to welcome Deborah to talk to you today. But just to give you guys a little bit of background regarding Deborah, I'm just going to do that for you now. So, born in Derby, Deborah danced with the Royal Ballet for 20 years before joining the Royal Opera House as executive to devise and implement strategies for developing new art, new artists and new audiences, including the innovative ROH2 programme. Deborah writes and presents a range of work for television and radio and is the author of 4 books. She was nominated for a life peerage in June 2018 and joined the House of Lords as Baroness Bull in July 2018. Deborah has served on the boards of the South Bank Centre, Arts Council England, as a governor of the BBC, as a judge for the 2010 Booker Prize, and was a member of the governing body of the Arts and Humanities Research Council. She has received honorary doctorates from Derby University, Sheffield Hallam University, the Open University, Kent University, and Lincoln University. Wow. And was awarded a CBE for her contribution to the arts in 1998. Deborah is Vice President and Vice Principal and the Senior Advisory Fellow for Culture at King's College, London. I don't know how, I can't even follow that up now. That is absolutely amazing array of things. Deborah, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it's lovely to see you both again. And you've reminded me it's exactly 4 years today since you invited me to come to the opening of the studio. So, which I think is a complete coincidence, right? That we are doing this 4 years to the day.
I know that was completely coincidental. That was up on your Facebook feed this morning.
Yeah, we're really, really happy memories of doing that. So very nice to see you both again.
Oh, thank you.
How are you coping in this current situation that we all find ourselves in?
Well, I think it's bringing out the creativity in everyone, isn't it? I mean, people are, finding ways to connect in really imaginative ways, finding ways to do their work in really imaginative ways. I think it's bringing out the best in us as people. You know, we are looking out for our neighbors, we are looking out for our families, which I think a lot of people are taking perhaps slightly better care of themselves. They're conscious of the need, you don't need telling this, but the need to exercise. They're conscious of the need to take care of their mental health and to recognize that this is really challenging and that it's okay to be anxious. It's okay not to feel great about this. So personally, I'm really finding that I can be very productive at work, which is great. Initially, I thought, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm finding I can be productive. And I'm, there are elements that I'm enjoying, which is slightly taking life a little bit slower. You know, you're not able to rush here, there, and everywhere. And in some ways, that's a good balancing, factor.
Yeah, no, completely. I think that even when we do come out of this lockdown period, and I know it will be a phased return to normal life, but I feel that there will be a lot of aspects of normal life that actually change for the better as a result of this. I'm hopeful for that anyway.
Yeah, I think we have to be, and there will be learning that comes out of this, and there will be some things that we will be very glad to return to an old way of doing things, and some we will say, well, let's just consider what's positive that we can retain. And certainly, looking out for your neighbours, supporting the NHS. I mean, seeing the government support for the NHS now, and everybody's recognition of not just the NHS, but other care workers, key workers. We are all thankful now for delivery drivers and the people who collect the refuse every week. And it's good to have just acknowledged that, lots of people are involved in making society tick, and we are beginning to be, more grateful and more cognizant of those people. So that's a good thing.
Definitely. And I think, people as well, we're seeing them turning to the arts for their entertainment, probably now more so than ever. And speaking of the arts, dance being one of them, we're seeing people watching dance on YouTube. I was going to say the YouTube
The
and make
YouTube.
myself sound about 500 years old. On the YouTube. But let's talk to you a little bit about dance. How did you first get into dancing?
Gosh, I mean, that almost goes back beyond my memory. I was always wanting to be a dancer. That was absolutely, you know, there in my mind. I was determined to be a dancer. So I think probably I was just one of those little girls who did dance a lot, like a lot of little girls, to be honest. And it's sort of translated into a desire to be a dancer. So I didn't actually go to ballet school until I was 7, because I didn't live anywhere that had a ballet school. So age 7, I went to a local school in Skegness and did various types of dance. And then, you know, it grew and grew and grew. And then I focused on ballet and auditioned for the Royal Ballet School, went there when I was 11.
Fantastic.
Wow. And how did you find your time at the Royal Ballet School, going from what was probably quite a recreational school to actually studying full time, where we know that probably the most, that your amount of hours and the intensity that you work increases hugely. I mean, did that affect you physically and mentally in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Janice Sutton School of Dance, and Janice still teaches. And while it, you know, absolutely is a locally based school, her standards were always very, very high. So, you know, it wasn't professional training, but it was very rigorous training. So, but you're right. I mean, you go to the Royal Ballet School and, you know, suddenly you're doing ballet class every day, and then you're doing 2 classes a day. And then by the time you're 14, 15, 16, you're doing, you know, half of your day is dancing. So, but you do gradually build up the strength. I mean, I think for some people it was hard to be away from home, because that's a big change. I always felt I enjoyed being part of the sort of community there. You know, I really enjoyed being part of my class, and I did have a very strong sense that this was where I needed to be to do the thing that I was so determined to do. So it was a really positive experience. You know, it was a long time ago. It was a different age. You know, this was in the 70s. So there were all sorts of different types of legislation about how you care for children and you know, the rights of children and so on. But it was a very caring environment. I think one of the main assets of it that I see now was there were very small class sizes. You know, in my class there were 6 boys and 12 girls when we were 11, and that was the size of the class, really. And if I look now at the size of classes that people are in, I don't mean ballet classes, I mean education classes, you know, they are much bigger. And so the attention we got was incredibly focused and tailored and personalized. So I think, you know, that offset the challenge of the hours for schoolwork reducing as we got older.
Fantastic. So from the Royal Ballet School, you went into the Royal Ballet, and I have a note here that was in 1981.
It was.
Yeah. The 80s. The 80s were great.
The 80s were great, exactly. Nothing wrong with a shoulder pad.
Oh, no, nothing at all. Bring back the shoulder pad is what I... But yeah, 1981 in the Royal Ballet, and then over time you were promoted to principal dancer. Can you tell us just a little bit about how you enjoyed your time in the company?
So as I went up through the school, you know, I got better and better, and towards the end, I was certainly, you know, amongst the top of the class. I was sent to the Prix de Lausanne, so I went and entered the Prix de Lausanne, and that was really important for me. So, you know, I was one of the best, as it were, and you kind of know that. Of course, you enter the company, and you're right back down at the bottom, because you're at the, you know, the fresh, new back row of the corps de ballet, and it is quite strange, because from having, you know, as a 16-year-old graduate student, you know, you're doing solos and you're working on repertoire and you're doing pas de deux work and, you know, all of these things. And then you graduate and you know, you feel equipped to do all that. And of course you don't do all that. You go back to being in the lines, you know, swan and you know, you don't do any pas de deux work, for goodness sake. So I found it a little bit frustrating initially, particularly as I could see other people around me who were progressing more quickly than I was. So I did find it frustrating, and I was, you know, chomping at the bit. In some ways, that was positive, because I started to look at and do other things. You know, I started to attend a lot of other types of dance. I started to, you know, just be out there and do other things. And I can see that they have contributed to me now as a person, and probably contributed to me as a dancer. But I found, you know, that pace of progression for me was relatively slow. I think I was promoted to principal in 92 maybe. So you know, it was over, I think it was 91 or 92. I'd been in the company at least 10, 11 years, and really wasn't sure that was ever going to happen. So yeah, you know, I felt like my victories were relatively hard won, but then perhaps they tasted sweeter for that.
And was there a particular, because we hear about this with ballerinas when they get promoted to principal, there's always one particular performance when they get noticed, and you know, the curtain closes and the director rushes to them and just promotes them to principal. Was that the way it happened in your case, or was it? Or...
No, well, no, it was a little bit like that. We were performing in Japan. It was the first night in Japan. And I remember this very well. We all fly economy, of course, you know, you're sitting in the back of the plane, you know, with your knees kind of like this, and I could see in business class up front, the first cast for Bayadere were there with their, you know, legs stretched out, and as they should have been, because they were dancing the next night. Of course, what happened was we got there and one of them was injured. So they switched the entire cast and put us on. So suddenly I was doing Gamzatti and La Bayadere on the opening night. And after the show, we actually had a party at the British Embassy in Tokyo. And I remember very well Anthony Dowell coming up to me and sort of grabbing my arm and swinging me, you know, away from the group I was talking in. But it felt like he was sort of doing a do-si-do or something, you know, it sort of swung me away and said, you know, that was it, you made it. And I said, sorry, made what? He said, I'm promoting you to principal. So that was a little bit how it happened at this party. And I was, you know, slightly on cloud nine, and then sort of went back to my room and thought, gosh, can I tell anyone? And I, you know, rang somebody and said, oh, I think I've just been promoted to principal. So it was, yeah, as I say, it was quite a long time coming. So I was very pleased about it, because there was something, you know, some of it is about doing the work, of course. It's wonderful to do the work, but there is something about the affirmation that comes with being recognized for, you know, having achieved what other people have achieved. And so it was a lovely moment.